is a follow-up to a story I did yesterday about members of the NAACP protesting Jeff Sessions. And look, I love this story, to be honest. So, NAACP president and 5 others were arrested protesting Trump's nomination of Jeff Sessions. And look, these guys have a good point. And let me read through it for a moment. Since the president-elect announced his pick in November, Democrats and many civil rights groups have objected to the senator's nomination, citing racially insensitive comments Sessions made early in his career as evidence that he is not fit to serve as country's top law enforcement officer. Trump, Sessions, and most Republicans have repeatedly dismissed those claims, denying that the senator is not racially prejudiced. Denying that the senator is racially prejudiced. Look, man, Jeff Sessions is racially prejudiced. I'm sorry, he is. There are comments where he says something to the effect of, yeah, I thought the Klan was okay until I realized they smoke pot. Dude, the Klan is not okay. And they're not okay for reasons other than smoking pot. That would probably be the cool thing in that mix. Look, and I said before, the whole Sessions thing is gross. The idea that you're going to put this guy in office. But I kind of want to make a point with this. And I want to make it kind of gently. Because it's the NAACP. And at the end of the day, I think they get a certain amount of thanks in general. But why not do this with Eric Holder? I mean, or for that matter, Loretta Lynch. And because I get your point. You're essentially saying, look, man, we can't trust this guy to make sure voting rights are safe and make sure when somebody gets shot that the Justice Department is going to treat them fairly. We don't want this guy making our drug laws. No, this guy is a threat. We can't expect him to behave fairly in this situation. And look, that's a fair point. And I even agree with it. But if you look at voting rights under Obama, I mean, they're shoving people off the roads in the hundreds of thousands. And look, all those states where Hillary had those very close margins, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, again, heavy suppression states. It's what they were doing is absolutely amazing. They had this thing called cross-check, where they would knock people off roads saying, oh, this guy voted in another state. That guy did not vote in another state. In other cases, they would shut down polls in certain areas to make the lines longer. People who are lower on the income scale have a harder time standing in longer lines because they tend to have to work. I mean, it's all sorts of just kind of slimy things these guys do, whether it's voter IDs, whether but they're doing this under Obama, and they're doing it right now under Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder. And I know the excuse they're going to say is, well, dude, they ripped apart the Voting Rights Act. But come on, man, you can't continuously use that as an excuse. I mean, you have the presidency, and you have essentially the powers of that office. And look, you have other Democrats. I mean, it's not like you're there by yourself. You would think that you guys would make such a stink about this. And not just the NAACP, Democrats in general would make a huge stink about this. Even going back to that election with Gore and Bush in Florida, there were hundreds of thousands of African Americans that were kicked off the rolls. And what's wild about it is the Black Caucus protested in the Senate. And by member, Al Gore, the guy who lost, gavel those guys down, ushering in George Bush as president of the United States. I just wish you would have did that to them. And I kind of want to hit on a larger point with this too. So, voting. African Americans vote like 90% Democrat. And if you're voting that high margins, that is a fantastic number. And look, I know how you got there. The Southern strategy, the Southern strategy. Even just looking at the way they treated Obama was enough of a reason to be just turned off by the party. And it's not just us. It's all racial groups, for the most part, vote primarily Democrat. But in this specific case, I'm talking to, I'm talking to everybody, of course, but it's a special point to my brethren. If you're voting at 90%, your vote is completely taken for granted. It's assumed, for the most part, that you're going to vote for them, meaning you have no leverage whatsoever within the party. I mean, yeah, Hillary would, dance with Mary J. Blige or something. That's great. But what does that mean to you? Like, look, voting is transactional. Like, so what I mean is, I am giving this person my vote because I have this belief this person is going to help me affect my vision on the country. That's the goal. But if you're voting at 90%, you will never accomplish that goal. Because at this point, you're not really voting for somebody, you're voting against somebody. But the guy who you're voting against, yeah, you might keep that guy out of office, but the guy who just got your vote is going to be in office, and they're going to be doing things. And those things should be something that you kind of want. So for instance, Bill Clinton gets in office. And Bill Clinton explodes the prison population, deregulates Wall Street, NAFTA. The next Democrat comes up, Al Gore. Now, they didn't vote for Al Gore. I think Al Gore got shafted, but that's okay. But Obama comes in. And it's automatically assumed, okay, well, of course we're going to vote Obama. But let's say it wasn't Obama. Let's say, like, this time it was Hillary. Why are you voting for her in 90% margins? Like, I don't understand. Like, I get it from the sense of getting away from Donald Trump. But what did she do? Like, what? And look, I'm not saying vote for the Republican at all. If anything, I would say, what about Greens? Or something to diversify your vote, to not necessarily make it a gimme. If you can't necessarily have the ability to say, yeah, I don't like what you're doing, so I'm not voting for you, then your power is for naught. I mean, you're just giving it away. And look, I get it. It's, you look at who's on the other side and you say, that guy is horrible. But you look at where the country was, and you look at how that country slid to the right. And you have to ask yourself, is part of the reason because people are so complicit in voting for somebody who they don't like to keep away somebody who they want worse, or who they like even less? Would it force the other party to behave in a way, to acquiesce to get their votes, if they knew that they could not win any other way? Maybe. I mean, I do not think the process of just two parties has worked, and I think you end up in a situation where if both parties are bought, you effectively have no voice in the political process. Because at the end of the day, regardless of Democrats, how feckless they are, Republicans are actively going to come and try to hurt you. And that's what it boils down to, and that's what it's boiled down to for God knows how many elections. But they've gotten worse. They haven't gotten better. And it doesn't seem like this automatic voting for the Democrat has worked very well. And like I said, man, I am damn sure not talking about voting for a Republican. But at the very least, have some... Gotta bring out this duopoly. Like this idea of it has to be one or the other. There are multiple parties. They're just people. I mean, at the end of the day, the party is... They're espousing a particular vision, but you're trapped. It's almost like you're stuck into this one mode, and it doesn't matter what that candidate does. Hillary Clinton was going to privatize Social Security, or she might have. That is damn sure not something anybody, for the most part, would have wanted. But you would have voted for her anyway, and you would have voted for her again on the next time, regardless of what she did in this presidential term. Because whoever they would have put up would have been far, far worse. And again, you're stuck in a system where it doesn't necessarily matter what the Democrat does, they're not as horrible as the other guy. And Democrats are allowed to play that brinksmanship over and over again, and this time they got their ass burned by it. And because they got their ass burned, we're stuck with Donald Trump. Again, like I said, tepid. Um, and the criticism is not purely for the NAACP, it's for Democrats in general. Um, I love what these guys just did. And like I said, I think you're probably going to be seeing a hell of a lot more of it during this administration. But part of me wish they would have did it sooner. I mean, honestly, really. Alright, so we're going to come home to Virginia. That's where I live. So Governor McAuliffe, let me just read it. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe has promised to veto a proposed bill that would allow people to sue the state if they found a transgender person in the restroom. What? Governor McAuliffe has been clear that he will veto any bill that restricts the right of Virginians based on sexual orientation or gender identity, said McAuliffe's communication director, Brian Coy. Governor is hopeful that Republicans in the General Assembly will drop these counterproductive bills and turn their focus towards building a stronger and more equal Virginia economy. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. That shit is not happening. You're going to see a lot of these dumbass bills. Oh, God damn, man. You guys don't have anything better to do than checking people's dicks in the other bathroom? Come on, man. So, HB 1612, the Physical Privacy Act, authored by Delegate Bob Marshall, states no individual should enter a restroom or other facility designated for use by members of the opposite sex, which sex defined as the gender marked on the person's original birth certificate. Wow. You know, of all the issues that we have to deal with, this is the shit that these guys are trying to pass. Wow. Oh, man, that's amazing. If there was a Republican governor, that shit would have passed. I am glad I voted for Governor McAuliffe. Look, man, I was one of those people who were like, oh, the guy's a corporatist. He saved our ass on that. So let's keep it in politics. So Democrats look at 2018 map and get ready for the fight for the filibuster. Nancy Pelosi looks like she's asleep over there. It's like, you want to say, Chuck, wake Nancy up. So yeah, this looked bad. And then, to be honest, on election night, I was actually thinking about 2018. In less than 2 years, 33 Senate seats would be up for grabs. Democrats, armed with the filibuster, are the last line of defense against incoming President Donald Trump and the congressional Republicans' agenda. The picture looks reasonably sunny for Republicans, who only have 8 seats on the ballot next year. 6 of them, Mississippi, Nebraska, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming, are likely safe for the GOP. Democrats, on the other hand, have 23 seats to defend, 25 if you count the independents, who caucus with the Democrats. That leaves 13 seats, 11 held by Democrats, 2 held by Republicans as potential toss-ups. So essentially, Democrats have more seats to cover. So think of it as, let's say you had 10 seats. Let's say 8 of which were Democrats, 2 of which were Republicans. You have an election. Well, the Republicans only need to carry 2 of their seats. We have to defend 8 of ours. We have a higher probability of potentially losing some seats. And the problem is, because they got their ass handed to them so badly in the prior election, if they lose or if they get below 40 seats, filibuster proof. They can they have a filibuster proof majority. They can do anything they want. I mean, think of it in the sense of any bill that the Republicans push through, they can pass it, and Democrats have no objection whatsoever. They can object, but it's not going to matter. They have the 60 votes of closure. Yeah, that is the fight of their life.